The sunny afternoon at Westfield Mall turned into a nightmare for 16-year-old Zora Jackson, a top AP student with dreams of becoming a medical researcher. While browsing for parts for her science project at an electronics store, she was unjustly accused of theft. A well-dressed white woman named Karen Thompson claimed Zora had stolen her $2,000 iPhone. Without any investigation, the store manager and two security guards immediately detained Zora, ignoring her protests and her detailed shopping list. The security guards, Brad Reynolds and Tyson Meyer, marched Zora through the mall in handcuffs, publicly humiliating her. Inside the small security office, Officer James Reeves of the Atlanta Police Department treated Zora with blatant prejudice, dismissing her claims and even mocking her when she said her mother was Colonel Vanessa Manning of the Delta Force. The officer's racist remarks and the laughter of the mall employees filled the room. Zora, however, remained calm. As the officer tightened the handcuffs, causing her wrists to bleed, she asked to call her mother. Reeves, expecting to expose her as a liar, mockingly handed her the phone. Zora called her mother, who was in a secure briefing at the Pentagon. Colonel Vanessa Manning, a decorated Delta Force officer, immediately recognized the tension in her daughter's voice. Zora explained she was being detained and humiliated at the mall. Upon hearing that her daughter was hurt and being judged based on how I look, Vanessa felt a familiar mix of maternal concern and cold, controlled fury. She ended the call with a promise. "I'm coming. Stay calm. Give them nothing." With battlefield precision, Vanessa took immediate action. She informed her commanding officer, General Marcus Hayes, who offered his full support. She then called a JAG Corp attorney, Major Terrence Williams, and a military police captain, Elena Rodriguez, and instructed them to meet her at the mall. Changing into civilian clothes to avoid drawing attention, Vanessa drove to the mall, mentally preparing for the confrontation. She arrived with the calm, focused intensity of a soldier entering a hostile zone. Entering the security office, she found Zora in handcuffs with blood on her wrists, surrounded by hostile faces. Officer Reeves stood over Zora with contempt. Vanessa, without raising her voice, introduced herself and demanded the handcuffs be removed immediately. Reeves, still dismissive, tried to brush her off, but Vanessa's precise knowledge of department regulations caught his attention. She then placed her military ID on the table, revealing her rank and Special Forces status. "Colonel Vanessa Manning, United States Army Special Forces. Now remove those handcuffs from my daughter before this escalates beyond your control." Reeves, still defiant, insisted he was following procedure based on a credible accusation. Just then, Major Williams, the JAG Corp attorney, and Captain Rodriguez, the military police captain, arrived. Major Williams announced he had already contacted the police chief, Robert Garcia, about the situation. Captain Rodriguez added that she had a medical team and had secured the perimeter, using military jargon to unnerve the room. The pressure was on. Reeves finally relented and unlocked Zora's handcuffs, revealing deep, bloody gashes on her wrists. Captain Rodriguez immediately began to treat the injuries and document them. As this was happening, Karen Thompson's phone began to ring from inside her purse. She frantically pulled out an iPhone identical to the one she had claimed was stolen. Karen stammered that it was a simple mistake. Vanessa turned to the mall's head of security, Dennis Parker, and demanded he show the security footage. The video showed Karen Thompson deliberately placing her phone in her bag 5 minutes before she made the false accusation. Major Williams recorded the footage as evidence. A review of Karen's customer profile revealed she had made 7 similar complaints against shoppers of color in the past year. Simultaneously, Captain Rodriguez discovered that Officer Reeves had a history of excessive force complaints, all dismissed without investigation. The evidence was mounting against everyone who had wronged Zora. As the evidence mounted, Police Chief Robert Garcia arrived, his gaze hardening at the scene. He confirmed that Officer Reeves was now under investigation for his actions. The mall owner's lawyer, Jennifer Haynes, showed up to offer a settlement to avoid litigation. Vanessa, however, refused, saying this isn't about money, this is about a systemic issue that settlement checks conveniently bury. The situation escalated with more people arriving, including a civil rights attorney and other victims of Karen Thompson's false accusations. Richard Thompson, Karen's husband, tried to intimidate everyone with threats of lawsuits, but Chief Garcia calmly informed him that his wife was being investigated for filing false police reports. Zora remained dignified throughout the ordeal, but she began to show signs of shock. The medical team recommended she go to the hospital. Before leaving, Zora told her mother that she wanted to see the situation through to the end. She said, "Someone needs to make sure this just doesn't disappear." Meanwhile, the security footage revealed that the store manager, Garrett Wilson, had been deliberately targeting young people of color. Just as he was trying to delete evidence from the computer system, Major Williams secured a court order to freeze all electronic records. The local news and social media were now covering the story, with hashtag Justice for Zora trending nationally. The crowd outside the mall grew, and community leaders arrived to support Zora and her family. At the hospital, as doctors treated the cuts on Zora's wrist, she made a powerful official statement, recalling every detail of the incident, including Officer Reeves' racial microaggressions. The police detective was impressed with her clarity, but a nervous hospital administrator soon interrupted to say that the lobby was filling with reporters and Officer Reeves' police union representative was demanding to speak with Colonel Vanessa Manning. Vanessa asked her daughter if she wanted to continue or accept a private settlement. Zora's response was resolute. How many other kids has this happened to who didn't have a mother in special forces? She decided they needed to pursue the case to create systemic change. Vanessa immediately called General Hayes, who declared the incident a civil rights violation and authorized full military legal support. They soon discovered that this wasn't the first time Officer Reeves had been accused of excessive force involving a military family. At the same time, the police union and Karen Thompson launched a smear campaign, questioning Zora's character and fabricating stories to discredit her. Even the Pentagon expressed concern, suggesting a more discreet resolution to avoid conflict with local law enforcement. Zora and Vanessa felt the pressure personally. Zora's scholarship application was deferred, and their home was vandalized with racial slurs and threats. The constant pressure took a toll. One night, while cleaning up the vandalism, Zora asked her mother if it was all worth it. "Maybe we should just take the settlement," she said. Vanessa responded by reminding her that this was exactly what their opponents wanted, for good people to decide that justice was too expensive and too troublesome to pursue. "This is good trouble," Vanessa told her, using a phrase from civil rights leader John Lewis. Unexpected allies emerged to counter the campaign. Zora's former Delta Force colleagues offered protection, and teachers from other schools sent messages of solidarity. Her classmates formed a study group to ensure her grades wouldn't suffer. Despite the attempts to intimidate them, Zora and Vanessa remained united. They refused a settlement and prepared to take their case to court. The hearing that would bring national attention to their case began. Zora and Colonel Manning arrived at the courthouse with a crowd of supporters. Inside the courtroom, the evidence was presented. The security footage, Zora's medical records detailing the injuries to her wrist, and the damning emails from the store manager. Zora took the stand and spoke with remarkable composure. She recounted the events precisely, explaining that the hardest part was realizing that the systems she was taught to trust could be weaponized based on how I look. Her testimony was so powerful that it silenced the courtroom. Colonel Manning followed, stating that her rank was only relevant because the authorities had mocked it. She said, "What matters is that any parent should expect their child to be treated with basic human dignity and due process." After 3 days, Judge Peterson delivered a powerful ruling. Officer Reeves was found guilty of rights violations and excessive force, suspended without pay, and ordered to undergo bias training. Karen Thompson was found guilty of filing a false police report and sentenced to community service. Electromax and Westfield Mall were found liable for discriminatory practices and ordered to establish a $1 million scholarship fund in Zora's name and to implement comprehensive policy changes under court supervision. The judge concluded that the ruling addressed not just individual actions, but the structures that allowed those actions to occur repeatedly without consequence. The court's ruling had a ripple effect far beyond the courtroom. The police department implemented new training requirements, and retailers across the region voluntarily adopted new non-discriminatory security protocols. Zora's testimony before a congressional committee led to proposed federal legislation against retail discrimination.